Hi everybody. I tend not to go on camera too much anymore, but I felt like this was an important topic to touch on. I made a video before about mental health, and it's a couple years old, and I thought I would update a little bit. But especially during the holiday season, it seems like mental health issues tend to be more prevalent. In fact, some sources cite that mental health issues tend to rise up to 64% over the holiday seasons for certain issues like anxiety and depression and self-harm related issues. Instead of throwing out a bunch of numbers, that I'd have to read off to you and you may not remember, what I'm going to do is I'm going to list some resources below, some phone numbers, some ways that you can text, and in some cases do personal, like Skype or chat calls. But there's also going to be some resources like tips and tips to help you cope during the holidays and things to avoid. Like, for instance, in some cases there are going to be holiday parties with colleagues, with family members, with friends, with other social groups. And there's a tendency to indulge a little more in alcohol and sweet foods, like sugary or high carb foods, fatty foods, etc., etc. And for some people, these foods can be triggering chemically, and in other cases, they can be triggering emotionally because overindulging brings feelings of guilt, shame, regret, etc., etc. Basically, the good rule of thumb is have what you want, but do it in moderation. And also, take good care of yourself, because if you're in your best health, you're going to feel better physically, and sometimes that can impact you mentally. And the holidays can be rough on people who are single, or if not happily single, people who are in tumultuous relationships or separated from loved ones, or spend too much time with these loved ones. There are all sorts of reasons why mental health issues seem to increase during certain time periods. And part of the way to combat that is to try to notice and define your triggers. And when you notice those triggers, set some boundaries. For example, if you get overstimulated by too much noise, too much music, etc., etc., too many people, maybe when you get together with people, if you can, limit it to a certain environment, or limit the number of people in the group, or limit the time frame, so that you don't have these issues. But like I said, I'll list a couple of sites that will give you tips and tricks on this, and to help you get through the more stressful events, or events that tend to draw you to a dark place, we shall say. Someone like I wanted to touch on depression and anxiety primarily, because there are so many more different kinds of mental health issues that I don't have a lot of knowledge on. But for some of us, there are different types of depression, and some people can have all of, all of these that I'm going to mention and then some. But the primary ones I'm going to mention are clinical depression, seasonal depression, and situational depression. And of course, they're pretty self-explanatory, but basically, clinical depression is something that you've had long-term, or in my case, I've had since childhood, that is often but not always treatable with medication. Sometimes medication will help but not eliminate the symptoms. But there's also seasonal depression, and there are many reasons why some people's depression tends to get worse during the winter months. Sometimes it can be holiday related. Sometimes some people feel like there could be a correlation between the lack of sunshine in the wintertime and how it affects people's moods. And there's also situational depression. Like I mentioned, if you're separated from a loved one, if you've lost someone you cared about, if something happens like you lose your job, or a myriad of other things that could cause you to be depressed. But these tend to be short term, whereas seasonal could last for a certain time period, then get better after a while. Clinical may come and go, but has been expressing for long periods, and routinely. And the same with anxiety. There are some of us that have different types of anxiety. In my case, it's also been since childhood. There have been times when medication has worked for me. There are times when it doesn't work for me. Excuse me. But regardless, recognizing and knowing that you have these issues is one step. Reaching out and getting help is another. Some of the numbers that I'm going to list below can help people who either don't know where to turn, have limited resources as far as insurance and such, or are in an area where there's not a lot of access to mental health care. Myself, I live in a rural area, and as opposed to where I used to live, it was there was mental health facilities that were a little bit more close to home, we will say. But these numbers will not only help you, like I said, find the resources you need, but some of them will also give you one-on-one contact with counselors, either through text, by phone, by video conferencing, kind of like Skype. I know I'm not using the right terminology here, but I can't. It's late and I can't remember. But there are different options, because in my case I get a little bit nervous in front of the camera, so texting or voice chat might be better option for some people. But and again, I'm also going to list a link with tips to help you get through the holidays and other situations where it might increase some of the issues you've already been having. The thing I hope you will take away from this, if nothing else, is that there are resources out there. There is help to be had. And if you're not the one having these issues, but you know someone who is, please reach out. Touch base with people that you know might be struggling a little bit. Make sure they have the resources Make sure they know the information of how to get in touch with counselors, or just, a chat line, and a place where they can deal with substance abuse or other issues. Domestic violence seems to rise around the holiday seasons. And there are just so many different things that make it tougher to get through the holidays. Lack of funds, unreasonable expectations, the financial pressures of wanting to meet other people's needs and everything, when it comes to gift giving and all that. In some cases, it might be time to change some family traditions. I mean, there are a lot of family traditions are good things, and there are reasons why they are traditions. In other cases, there are family traditions that have outlived their usefulness, if they ever were useful. In my family, we've adapted and changed over the years. Because our family dynamics have changed, we've also changed our traditions. We're starting new ones. We're adapting old ones. We're carrying on some of the old ones. We're a blended family, so there's a lot of different traditions that we bring to it. But try and enjoy the holidays on your level. I mean, you don't have to do it the way everybody else does it. What works for you, it may not be what works for someone else, and vice versa. And just try to look into the meaning of the holiday, and don't let it become something that's a burden to you. And like I said, just, make use of resources. Lean on your friends a little bit. Talk to them, your loved ones. Let people know how you're feeling. There are a lot of people who don't handle social situations very well. And I have my moments. I mean, I like to say I'm selectively social. When I'm in a group setting where I'm comfortable, I can be a very social person. If I don't know people there, or it's a new situation for me, I may be silent the whole time I'm there. Everybody's different on how they approach these things, but don't let other people's expectations dictate how you choose to do self-care. So, I mean, I hope this makes sense to you. I didn't say it quite the way I meant to. Like I said, this is a time where my anxiety kicks in, and I forget half the things I want to say. But also, when you do your own research, when you're looking online for information about mental health issues, substance abuse issues, things that are related to that, don't go by every article you see. Check out the source. Google will give you 10 million answers, of course. But what I encourage you to do is to, in my case, the sources I mostly relied upon were NAMI, which is the National Alliance of Mental Illness, the CDC, which is the Center for Disease Control, the National Institute for Mental Health, otherwise known as NIM, and JAMA, which is the Journal of American Medical Association. And there are other valid resources out there also, but just know where your information is coming from. Don't believe everything you read. Don't believe everything you hear. If it comes from a loved one, trust but verify, because even the best of us get our facts wrong sometimes. just most importantly, take care of yourself, take care of each other. And I hope that this holiday season turns out to be a good one for each and every one of you. And I may be doing another video before the end of the year, may not, I haven't decided yet. But if I don't see you online, know that I enjoy all of my communities that I go to, and I go to several, and I want people to know that for me it's my social life right now. And I understand that for a lot of people, especially during the pandemic, this has been their primary social. But don't let your online life overcome your personal life. I've seen a lot of people more recently that seem to be living online almost. They let YouTube or Twitter or Facebook become the center of their world, and in the meantime it's affecting their family and their friends, their relationship, bonding with family and friends, I mean. So just keep in mind, be realistic about the time you spend online. Yeah, there's a lot of great people online, but not everybody online is your friend. Not everybody online has good intentions. Not everybody is who they say they are. And just have fun, but be careful. Just use common sense. Don't give out a lot of personal information. Don't let people get to you. If you feel like you're being harassed or bullied, step away. Who cares if someone wants to say they win, or you were triggered, or whatever the case may be. I get triggered all the damn time. And sometimes I react, but I try not to. Most of the time, I react, I let it go, I move on. If I feel like that it's becoming too much for me, I haven't had any issues with bullying in a couple years or so, and even then it wasn't actual bullying, it was attempted bullying and intimidation. But that's said and done and over, done with. But yeah, sometimes you just have to take a step back away from it and either go in a different community, or just take time off of the internet altogether. Go watch movies, listen to some audiobooks if you must be online. Like I said, change your sources, switch it up a little bit. Don't spend all your time in one quote-unquote neighborhood of YouTube or Twitter or Instagram, whatever the case may be. Don't let yourself get so caught up in what's going on online that you forget about what's going on around you. And so I'm getting a little more long-winded than I meant to be. But just keep in mind, take steps to keep yourself mentally and physically healthy. Enjoy the holidays. If you're alone, maybe there are other people who are alone as well, and you can reach out to them and find a little camaraderie. But again, just be careful with interacting online. It can be great and it can be fun and social, but just use common sense. So I'm just going to leave off here before I ramble for another 8 hours. I'm just kidding. Before I ramble on some more. But If I don't see you before the New Year's, I hope you have a Happy New Year. I hope the other holidays between now and then will be pleasant and fulfilling and fun and festive for everybody involved. So until I see you again, take care of yourself, take care of each other. Be well.